Good morning from Sailing Nova Vita. It's a maintenance day on board today whilst we're getting ready for our 2024 summer cruising season. Today we're going to sort out a niggly oil leak that we've had over the last sort of 12 months. Not very much, half a teaspoon of oil every now and then, but it's just something that's really niggling, and we said, right, we'll get it sorted. We've got plenty of time to do so. So, having done a little bit of investigation, we believe it's some O-rings on the throttle arm. So we're getting prepared to change it today. Let's see how we go. We've taken the step off, as you saw in the last video, and now we can get going and actually get some access to the engine. In preparation for the day's works, I've emptied all the tool lockers and I've got everything out all around, just in case we need to use it all. As we go through, I will let you know what we have and haven't used. But this is what we've got out so far. It's not all the tools that we've got, but it's quite a fair few, because you just never know exactly what you're likely to use. We'll come to the parts a little later.
The O-rings that we're changing are inside the timing housing. In particular, this one in here on the throttle lever arm. That, we believe, is where the oil leak is coming from. The first thing we need to do is take off the alternator belt. The next thing we have to do is take off the raw water pump, but as we're changing these hoses, I'm going to take those off as well. And for any of you wondering what all of this other stuff is in the back here, that's part of our home-built water maker, but we'll get to that possibly in another video.
Ooh, good idea. Chaos has started to rain already.
The next stage of this is to remove the raw water pump itself, these 4 bolts.
Undoing the 4 bolts with a 12mm crank spanner.
raw water pump. Just cleaning out a little bit of residual oil from where the pump went. I have drained all the oil out of the engine though.
And we've actually gone for the next bag of tools out as well, just to add to the collection that are now all strewn around the upside down.
This is how I've held this in place to undo it. It's a bit awkward, hold on. I put a spanner on there, bounced it on the Stilsons. I put a spanner in through the Stilsons and I've used it as a counter to the turning motion. I've removed the nut from the pulley wheel and now I need to get a harmonic puller to pull that off. This is a harmonic puller. Now in theory, this should just pull this off. This is the harmonic puller in position. The 3 bolts that screw into the pulley wheel. Now, this was done up as tight as I could do it up, but nothing was budging. Heated this up, still nothing was budging. So I spoke to a very clever friend of mine who said, if it's stuck, give it a little tap on this part of the harmonic puller, bit more of a tap than that, and it'll shock it and off it comes. So that's the pulley wheel taken off. There's a little keyway in here.
Oh yeah, don't lose that.
Don't lose that. When this comes off, this does like to go flying. But that's how you get it off. That was the trick I was told today. It's just we have to take off cables, undo cables, so that we can get this off in a minute. I've turned the fuel off and now I'm taking off the feed and return pipes because I need to lift this in order to disconnect this inside here. This is the diesel injector pump. I'm now undoing the diesel injector feed pipes. It's all through the feed pipes off. I'm going to cover this because it's after the filter. Make sure that no rubbish gets down inside the injectors. Grunting. Okay, let's crack that nut.
So that has come off of there. All clear now. So we can get at the injector pump. Next process. Oh, and that is how to keep that scrungy looking little thing
from disappearing into the engine.
Yes. Whew.
That's now let that go. So now I can take the front off. All that fun just to take this off.
Being a little bit tricksy to come off because we're having
I'm just being super careful.
Well, A, we're being super careful, and B, we're having to break the paint as well.
I removed this spring from this part, slide that through and in. And this is the O-ring that we want to change. So all of that work for this O-ring.
The actual O-ring that we needed, it was 3580035. That's the old one. And now putting it all back together again with the O-ring in.
That's O-ring number 2, which is on a little shaft here, which goes in through this bit here. So I'll push that one back in, and then this clip goes back in to hold it in place.
Part number for the little O-ring there that we've just installed was 3580040. In here we have the third and final O-ring to replace. Got to take it all apart first.
You think?
Were we right? Absolutely. $3580047. That's the part number for the third O-ring that we're going to replace. John's trying to get the old one out, being tricksy as usual. Oh, got it on the run maybe. And then it'll be the new one in, which is this really small one here.
It must be in the whole way. That's it.
All in now. We did put some new oil around it when we put it in. Going to fit a new gasket on. Removing the old gasket. It's fun. Not. It's taking a while to get the old stuff. Some of it came off really easy. Some of it just needs a little bit of persuasion. The mating surfaces have been cleaned and we've put Hylamar Blue gasket jointing compound on the surfaces, as you can see on the gasket here, and we're about ready to put the casing back on the engine. Putting it all back together again. We're in the process of changing our hoses from the old nasty looking ones to these nice clear hoses. We already did from the coolant tank to the engine, and that's got the coolant in it, and we're now in the process of changing all the others for nice clean ones. It's all part of our engine service system for this year. I always knew my hairdryer would come in useful for something, as well as drying my hair obviously, occasionally. Warming the pipe up to make it a tad more malleable and to be able to put on the connections. It's March and it's about 10 degrees.
Let's not forget the Jubilee clip, eh?
It makes it go on really smoothly. We're changing the impeller in the raw water pump, loosening all the screws all the way around, and then taking all the screws out, putting them safely in a plastic pot.
Here I have my extremely expensive, purposely designed impeller pulling system.
There it is. What conditions is it in?
Well, it's just started.
Oh, yeah.
So that's 12 months in service, and the vanes are quite stiff, starting to break. You can see there. That one's. Can you see that?
Oh yeah, you can. Wow.
That one there's gone. That one there's gone. They're all going.
We do an engine service roughly every 12 months. It was of March last year. Obviously before we set off on our summer cruising season. So that's just 12 months old. Well, definitely worth a change.
This is the cover plate off of the raw water pump. You get two types of gasket depending on which pump you've got. That's our new one. That one's no good to us. New impeller and the screw that goes inside the impeller to hold it in place. You screw this in across the middle of the impeller to stop the impeller not doing anything, essentially.
But there is a reason, isn't there? Because that goes across the front of the water pump.
It does. There's the new impeller. I just have to clear the old gasket off of here. Old gasket's my favourite. I will make sure everything's off and clean. My impeller, pop it in. To line up the screw that goes through with the slot in the shaft. Like so, and just push it in like that. I don't worry about the vanes because they'll sort themselves out as the engine turns. I never worry about it, never have. Some people do. But as soon as you start the engine, it'll sort itself out. At least that's the way I've always done it. So far so good.
Thin layer of Hylamar to seal the gasket. Top tip: if you want to clean your screw,
and it's really small and fiddly, instead of trying to do this,
wrap your screw in there
and use a screwdriver to twist it backwards and forwards to clean it.
Super. Replace the cover plate.
We finished putting everything back together and we changed these water pipes and these water pipes and this water pipe, and the impeller is all done. We've started her up, we've checked everything works, we have no leaks, no oil leaks, no diesel leaks. We have also changed the fuel and oil filters. Secondary fuel filter there, primary oil filter down in the back there somewhere, oil filter down at the bottom. All been changed, ready for the season. It's been quite a lot of work, but it's worth doing. It seems much more complicated than it actually is once you get into it. You just have to be really careful when you start taking things apart and when you put them back together. Just make a note like I did, take lots of photographs if you're unsure, and if you're really unsure, get a professional to do it. Really hope you enjoyed this video and it's given you an insight into how to cure that particular annoying little oil leak that a lot of people have had, that I've read about on the internet. I'm not a mechanic, so make your own minds up. I could have done it completely wrong, but it seems to be working fine. Thanks for watching the video. Hope it was helpful, hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe and leave me a comment if you've got a better way of doing something than I did it. That'd be great.